Republican from North Carolina and member of the Armed Services Committee, Senator Ted Budd, is with us today on a busy Saturday. They're not supposed to work on Saturday. Let's start with this. So, with Iran, right? We're more than 3 weeks now into this military operation. The Pentagon says it needs Congress to approve $200 billion in additional funding, which is, even getting a little resistance from the right. So how does this play out?
Let's see what's in that supplemental $200 billion. And seems like everybody's coming out of the woodwork with non-defense related things, trying to attach it to that. My main focus is making sure that the warfighter has what he or she needs to make sure that our country is safe. Look, it's been an intense 3 weeks. President Trump wants to resolve this as quickly as possible, but we want to make sure that money is not the issue to deal with a perennial 47-year-old problem that has been the source of almost all terrorism around the world and in our country. So we've lost U.S. lives to Iran. President Trump is doing what he needs to make our country safe. He does not like long wars, but he wants to get this quickly. And so if a supplemental of additional funds is needed to wrap this up soon, then I'm sure we'll be supportive. But we need to see the details inside of it.
So you're on the Senate Armed Services Committee. The president says Iran is a limited military operation, not a forever war. You were, alluding to that, and that he's considering winding down operations there in his Truth Social. Your assessment right now of how it's going and how long it actually might take for mission accomplished, and define what mission accomplished is.
Well, we're starting our 4th week right now, and I think if we could be gone and out of there yesterday, and if the region could be stable yesterday, then we certainly would be. And you don't want to throw out there, I mean, we've seen a president say mission accomplished when it wasn't quite accomplished, so President Trump is very hesitant to do that. But I think he wants to message to the American people, he wants to get this resolved. And by the way, out of the 32 countries in NATO, only 5, and not even the biggest 5, has stepped up and valiantly supported this effort because they realize the threat that Iran is, even though it's degrading. If you look, so we need some of the 27 other countries, especially those with bigger militaries, get involved. Let's resolve this. And they're complaining about energy prices, but they're not doing anything about it. So I think President Trump is right on track with this. And by the way, I think sending Marines there, it gives him additional options. He doesn't want boots on the ground, but we want to open the Strait of Hormuz. You've got countries in NATO that are complaining about high oil prices. They're higher than we ever wish they were. But if you look at what the oil prices were under Joe Biden, if you look at what they were under Katrina, it's about at the same price right now. So historically speaking, it's on par, but President Trump wants them lower. And by making this region a lot more stable, it will be. You can just take a look at the Brent crude price right now versus the West Texas Intermediate. Usually there's about a $4 spread. It's probably closer to a $14 spread right now, which shows that America is energy resilient, but European countries and Asian countries are very dependent on these Middle Eastern supplies. So I'm grateful for American independence as far as it comes to energy, but we want to make sure that the region is stable and, by golly, that Americans are safe. There's so many things going on now, and they seem to be connected. More threats to our world, more threats to the homeland, and the Democrats don't even want to fund the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah, no, not at all. I want to get into that in 1 second, but I want to ask you, so Iran launched a missile that had a range of like 2,500 miles towards Diego Garcia, where our troops are. You send 2,500 miles the other way, and you're hitting capitals in Europe. Do they not understand that?
Well, I don't know who they are, but in this case, that sure seems like the left doesn't understand this. And they've said this wasn't necessary. We shouldn't be doing this. They're worried about forever wars. Look, we're all worried about making sure our troops get home safely, and we're grateful for what we've been able to accomplish right now. But when you send something 2,500 miles away, that's a lot longer than Iran ever said that they were. So it shows they were hiding a lot of their capacity. President Trump was right back with Operation Midnight Hammer back last June, and he was right with this recent strike. So I'm glad that he's degrading their ability to shoot at us with missiles, rockets, and drones. And we've targeted about 8,000 individual sites, and there's more to come. It just shows that they would ignore their own 90 million population and leave them in despair while they were building up this massive military. And it takes a while to degrade that, but CENTCOM has been absolutely fabulous. They have been on plan. They're very thoughtful. They're going to get some backup to clear the Strait of Hormuz with the Marines. So I think they're actually right on track now.
So the they I meant were the the Starmers of the world and the Macrons of the world, where those missiles could actually land on their own soil. But maybe they'll figure that out one day. So there's a reason why you're in a jacket and tie and not walking around North Carolina today, because you got to work. You shouldn't have to on a Saturday. But the Democrats are not funding DHS. It's obviously Trump derangement syndrome coupled with hatred for ICE. Americans are kind of running out of patience now with these long lines with TSA agents walking off the job, calling in sick. They haven't been paid, for 35 days now. Can't blame them. What's the latest with negotiations?
Well, the Democrats and Chuck Schumer are dug in. I think if you actually talk to some of the remaining few Democrats that are reasonable, then they are saying like, hey, we see what you're trying to do. We want to keep our homeland safe. We want TSA opened. But so much of their radical base has said no ICE. So eventually they want to defund the police. That's what they're trying to do here by defunding ICE, defunding the police. That's essentially what this is. They've asked, hey, can we fund everything except for ICE or except for Border Patrol? But that's a non-starter. That means eventually that if that were to pass, they would never fund ICE ever again.
Right.
So we have to fund the whole of DHS to make sure that Coast Guard's paid, FEMA reserves are topped up and ready for the next emergency for our country. Border Patrol has what they need. And then, of course, TSA is paid. 50,000 agents have gone without pay now in their 36th day as of today. And a lot of these call-outs that are happening, it's not because they're mad and they're staying home. Maybe they are mad and they deserve to be so for what the Democrats have done to them. But a lot of these folks, these are not lucrative jobs. They can't afford the gas in their car to commute into the airport where they work. So, it's a real bind that the Democrats have put this country in. It's made us less safe at a time of national need.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize these TSA agents, a lot of them are on hourly pay. So, they're struggling. So the other reason, obviously, Democrats are, blocking the SAVE Act, which you guys are talking about. This is a really popular bill across the entire spectrum, including, I think, 70-something% of Democrats favor proof of citizenship to register to vote and photo ID at the polls. So what's happening with this, and why are some of the Republicans peeling off and not supporting it?
Well, let's go to what the Save America Act is actually about. It's about Americans voting in American elections, American citizens protecting the vote, making sure we protect the integrity of American elections, and that when you go to register to vote, you prove you're a citizen, and when you go to vote, you show an ID. That's pretty simple. And for non-citizens to be removed by the states from their voter rolls. And these are just for federal elections. It's not for state elections. It's not for local elections. I think people are frustrated with this. They want to get on to other things. They want to focus on a few other things. But what's more important than protecting American elections? That's the core of this. We're probably at a place right now. When you look at Minnesota and you look at the fraud there and you look at what's now being found out in California, you can see just a culture of fraud in so many of these governments. And if it affects our voter rolls, then you don't know that your vote actually counts in those states. So you want to make sure to protect this country and our longevity, that American citizens are voting in American elections.
Amen to that. Senator Ted Budd, it's good to see you. I hope you didn't have North Carolina in your March Madness, but I know it's too soon.
Thanks,
Good
Rob.
to have you.